you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560. The Answer.
Dan and Amy, just recalling that Hammer story we were talking about. You know what the best MC Hammer song was? Everybody remembers Who Can't Touch This, right? No, Hammer Time. No. It was before he was just Hammer, back when he was MC Hammer.
Okay.
Remember, he went from MC Hammer to just Hammer.
Hammer. Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the video for Turn This Mother Out?
No.
That's his best work. Best song and best dance work.
Oh.
I'm a bit of a Hammer/MC Hammer historian. This was the golden age of hip-hop right here.
I don't think I've ever heard this song in my life.
This is that's because you weren't...
I was too self-absorbed.
You weren't on the
in
scene
high
like
school.
me.
I was in show choir.
I would breakdance to this song.
Would you really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on, give us some
I'd try and mimic his moves. MC Hammer, real name.
Quentin?
His real name's Lou Alcindor. No, it's Stanley Burrell.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, tomorrow, can you bring some cardboard and your parachute pants and get this going on? Let's
All
get
right.
this party started.
All right, I'll turn this mother out.
You know what? Let's turn this mother out, and then we'll put it on the YouTube.
God, you're so white. Let's turn this mother out.
Let us turn this mother out.
It's so proper.
It is proper.
Right.
But then you can you could do your dance, and then if we put that on YouTube,
It could be my big break.
We would blow up YouTube.
All right, we're losing our minds because of what has happened. The nation losing its minds over the last several days and several years and several election cycles. And yesterday, some interesting results. Not surprising, Mitt Romney's pending ascension to the Senate. But very surprising in New York, where the Democrat old guard just got a wake-up call about how kind of how they have lost their legitimacy with where the real energy is in their party, which is with the Democrat socialists like, I don't know.
Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez?
Yeah, her.
28 years old, still is paying off her student loans. She didn't even know she was going to win.
It's surreal. I did not see these numbers until I walked in right now. I saw these numbers on television with you, so I'm still processing a lot of this.
All right.
She's shocked. And her first order of business, she wants to eliminate ICE.
Working class Americans want a clear champion, and there is nothing radical about moral clarity in 2018.
Moral clarity.
Democrat Socialists of America knocks out Joe Crowley, who's been there for 2 decades and was seen by some as sort of the speaker in waiting to replace Nancy Pelosi, were Democrats to retake the House. For more on this topic and, of course, all the Red Hen fallout, we're pleased to be joined again by Noah Rothman, who's the associate editor for Commentary Magazine. Noah, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So how do you read that huge upset in New York knocking off Joe Crowley?
Well, I think it's worthwhile not making too much out of this, not unduly inflating. The Democrats have done a really good job of protecting their incumbents this year from insurgents, from a Tea Party-like wave. So we got to give them credit for that. At the same time, it's impossible not to make too much out of the fact that this woman, as you said, 28 years old, no political experience except for interning for Senator Edward Kennedy at some point, spent like a little over $100,000 on her race, defeated the head of the Queen's Democratic Party, who spent 7 figures, who was quick in line for leadership. It's a real shot across the bow. It is very Eric Cantor-like, although Eric Cantor is a very different situation. That was the Tea Party eating its own, not the inception of the Tea Party. But it has that sort of feel and that sort of momentum. And again, as you said, member of the Democratic Socialists, very much somebody with, in my view, a very limited understanding of how government is funded and how government works, very aspirational, an effective speaker, but nevertheless a novice at government. So this is one of those moments where you start to get a little bit nervous about what life in Washington is going to be like when the pendulum swings away from Republicans, as it inevitably will.
Yeah, and she was, I mean, the New York Times didn't even mention her because they didn't think that she was going to be a threat to Joe Crowley.
Well, it was a surprising race. I mean, I've seen New York Times reporters dispute that very, very vociferously on Twitter. I haven't done the research to say one way or the other, but nevertheless, I mean, the point stands. It's true that everybody was watching the race, the primary race in Staten Island, where Michael Grimm, a convicted felon, was seeking to get back into the Congress and sort of combating the president who had endorsed his opponent, and everybody was looking for an Alabama-like situation where the president endorsed Luther Strange, and Roy Moore won anyway. Turns out that wasn't the case. That wasn't the race to watch. The race to watch was in Queens, and nobody saw it. I do, however, want to say that everybody's lavishing praise upon Miss I don't know even know how to say her name.
Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah.
Ocasio-Cortez. Thank
There you
you. But I just watched her interview on
CNN.
on Morning Joe, and I got to say, I didn't find it especially impressive.
Well,
She's being lauded as this real new fresh thinker, but I gotta pull up some transcripts here because I really want to read you exactly what she said. She was asked about her agenda, which is abolish ICE, again, free schooling after high school, essentially universal Medicare, forgive all loans. And she was asked by Willie Geist, what does that mean? How are you going to pay for that? Tax cuts, roll back tax cuts, increase taxes. And her response was the following, quote, not only that, but also to understand that the federal government does have the ability in a similar way that we had in the New Deal to spearhead this agenda and some of that financing as well.
Oh, boy.
yeah,
What?
right.
Nothing was said there. You didn't say anything. You had no answer. You don't understand what that means. And people who say, well, Congress just doesn't know, they're all a bunch of blow eaters. They don't know what they're talking about. That's not fair. A lot of the people in Congress get into Congress because they're wonky, because they understand financing and federal affairs and how you actually support an agenda with an actual governing plan. This is amateur hour, and that should freak people out.
Well, but I mean, the left's entire identity right now, where all the energy is in defining themselves in the negative. We're not Trump. And then you have to compete to see who is most opposed to Trump, who is most vociferous in advocating for the resistance. And so that's what this competition has become, as we've seen this week with Maxine Waters' pronouncements as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's sort of this trend towards extremism in opposition to Donald Trump, and there was a strain of that in the right, in the Tea Party era, where accommodationists be acting as though you were opposition, which isn't reflexive. It is sometimes compromising. It is designed to achieve your position that positions your members better for the next election. It is not the resistance, which believes your opposition to be illegitimate and fancies yourself some sort of a partisan sabotaging rail lines behind enemy lines. That is a weird conception of how politics works. It's self-flattering. It's a fantasy. Democrats have bought into it. Again, Republicans sort of bought into it in the Tea Party era, when they believed that any Republican compromise with Democrats or Obama was capitulatory. And it makes for worse politics. It makes for uncivil politics.
What's up?
Because you believe your opposition to be illegitimate, bad faith, and even countenancing their legitimacy is seen as some sort of a sop, as a lack of spine. And that's dangerous.
Let's move over to Utah. No surprise there that Mitt Romney won the primary there for the Senate seat. What's it going to be like when he comes to Washington? I mean, here's a man who's tried, a few times to get into the White House, and is he going to fit in D.C.?
Like a glove.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think?
Is he going to fit in D.C.?
Well, I mean, is he going to push back against President Trump?
That guy was made to be inside the Beltway. Are you kidding me? He's from 3 states.
Right. He's from Massachusetts. He plays well in Massachusetts. He's going to play well in Utah and play well in D.C.
He's a bit of a chameleon.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. I think he can probably shapeshift his way into an effective role in Washington, and he knows when to oppose the president, when it's effective for Utah, and when not to, and so I think he'll probably play in Washington pretty well. I mean, the anti-Trump side of the Republican Party, the rump that is girding its loins for the inevitable day when Mitt Romney goes to the mattresses to defend Donald Trump in a controversy that he probably deserves to be criticized for. They're already waiting for him to break their hearts in that way, and I think they're probably right. That's inevitable because he's a team player, like you said. He's a party politician.
Nice shapeshifter reference.
Wow.
I mean, that's
We forgot he's from Michigan too.
well, we are in the era of the forthcoming Trump Space Force. So a shapeshifter
right.
reference, kind of turning this into the Art Bell show, the intersection between the supernatural and politics. Let me ask you this: the RNC's out with an ad that's sort of a minute compendium of some of the more ignorant and incendiary comments made by everyone from Madonna to Johnny Depp to Maxine Waters over the last year and a half. Is the great hope for Republican maintenance of the House in particular just Democrat overreach, that just presenting what the left is saying, sort of the leading lights of the left, or the leading faces, at least on TV, of the left, are just so far overreaching that there's going to be a reaction to that preserves Republican majorities?
Yeah, so I'm of two minds on this. I believe generally that Democrats are in a bad spot when they energize Republican voters. Republican voters over the last 18 months have been depressed. They've not been showing up at the polls generally. So we've seen Democrats do pretty well because Republicans aren't there to oppose them. Anytime you energize Republicans, there's no reason to vote is bad for Democrats. And insofar as they are doing that by adopting extremism, adopting these tactics that are borderline abusive towards Republicans and members of public servants, people in government. Yeah, I think that's bad for Democrats. At the same time, this ad, which I think is probably very effective, targets people who really aren't on the ballot. I mean, there's Bernie Sanders is in there, yeah, there's a couple of members of Congress, but it's generally about celebrities and media personalities, and this perception on the part of the right that they are persecuted by media, Hollywood, institutions that have nothing to do with government. And it's a negative ad, and it's probably effective in a way, but it's not an ad you would see from a party that is seeking re-election, that is seeking the reaffirmation of its incumbency status. They're not running on an agenda. It's not a record.
Yeah, but
they're not saying that this is what we achieved and you have to go to the polls to defend it. They're saying these people hate you.
Right. Well, it has that emotive quality, which is intended to sort of motivate the base, right? That the culture war is still on, and they're coming at us hard, and so you got to man up and get back out there.
Yeah, and again, that might be effective. Negative ads work, and this is a web ad. I don't know the extent to which this is a buy, whether they have whether it's reserved ad time behind this. Who knows? This could just be a play for earned media, and in which case we're doing their job for them. But in that sense, I do think it's an effective strategy. I do think Democrats err when they energize Republicans. I wonder the extent to which it's going to last, because negative feelings are fleeting. They're powerful in a moment, but they don't really have a lot of staying power. And what really matters when you're an incumbent is Morning in America is saying, this is what we've achieved, this is what we've done, this is what you like, and if you want to keep seeing more of this, you go to the polls to defend it. That generally is the way in which incumbents preserve their status.
He is Noah Rothman, associate editor for Commentary Magazine. Noah, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro